Multiple separate playstyles is a foundational pillar of the majority of Sonic games. It ranges from stages locked to a particular character to alternate paths in a single level. One of the most notable of these playstyles, and the subject of this video, is the Werehog. The Werehog is Sonic Team's attempt at a God of War styled hack and slash, and with me being a huge God of War fan, that sounds like a match made in heaven, but it disappoints in almost every fashion to capture what makes God of War, or any good hack and slash, so great. From the combat, to the enemies, to the upgrade stats, none of it really lives up to its potential. Today I want to take the time to go through why I think the Werehog is a poor man's God of War. First of all, what even makes the Werehog like God of War? While the Werehog has plenty of original ideas, it is immensely clear that Sonic Team's main inspiration for the playstyle was God of War. From the Werehog's stretchy arms that function like the blades, to the unleash meter, to the QTE finishers, to the tightrope sections, to the double jump, to the block pushing, the lever pulling, the button pressing, and whatever you call this, it's all very God of War-esque. Now, I do want to clarify that in no way is that an inherently bad thing. Being a clone of God of War is not an immediate flaw. In fact, one of my favorite games of all time, Dante's Inferno, is a blatant God of War clone, but it thrives off of its really awesome concept and its own neat additions to the God of War formula. The Werehog fails because it clearly tries to copy so many things from God of War, but falls flat on its face in the execution and lacks the glue that makes the God of War formula work. For crying out loud, pushing a block is better in God of War. With that said, let's get a little bit more in depth, starting with the combat itself. Now with the Werehog, you attack with two main button inputs, X for short range attacks and Y for long range attacks, but also A at the end of some combos to launch enemies in the air, and B for QTEs and grabbing fodder enemies. Now saying that, we already have an issue. Why on earth is this so confusing? I wish I could tell you it's a matter of mechanical depth, but all this is rather random. Why on earth does XXA or YYA have to be the basic aerial? God of War kept things simple. Just hold down triangle and Kratos and the enemy will get sent into the air. Same with circle/B. It also, like the Werehog, serves as a grab and a QTE opener. But the God of War games make sure that you can still do this little grab animation to show that it's a consistent mechanic. Plus they teach it to you in the literal first minute of gameplay. The Werehog, on the other hand, decides to hide what are basic mechanics in God of War behind specific combos the game never tells you about. There's almost zero consistency for the use of the buttons. So not only is this combat, really overcomplicated, the game makes learning any of the already not very intuitive combos an absolute chore. Unlike most games where you do something like upgrading a weapon or using a skill tree to unlock new moves, which clearly communicates what you're about to unlock, the Werehog has a combat level that gives you new moves based on how much you upgrade it. Now that doesn't sound that bad on the surface, but it literally doesn't even tell you how to use the skills you unlock. You just get the name of some move that may at best give you a guess as to what it even does. So for me to learn the mechanics of the Werehog while playing through the game, I have to first upgrade my combat stat, see the name of the new skill I just unlocked, go to the skills tab, scroll through the list of skills until I see the thing I just unlocked, assuming I can even remember it, see the button input, and then try it. Not only does it not tell me how to use the move I just unlocked, the skills tab doesn't even show me what it does. At a minimum, I expect the game to at least show me what the skill looks like on the skills screen. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance does this pretty well. You can just look in the menu and there it is. Once again, the God of War games completely avoid this issue. When you upgrade the blades, two things happen. You get new moves and the blades get a strength upgrade. When the upgrade happens, the game forces you to see the name of all the moves you unlocked and how to use them. This virtually fixes every issue with the Werehog's upgrade system. The stats aren't so split up, so you have one clear goal, just upgrade the blades. The game makes sure you can't miss the name of the button input for the moves you unlock. And even though it doesn't show you what the attack does in the menu, it doesn't really need to, since when the game tells you about a new move and how to do it, it's pretty likely you'll just try it right then and there to see what it does. Doing it this way makes every level upgrade feel impactful, and it also gives you that satisfaction of trying out a sick new move for the first time. Using the Cyclone of Chaos for the first time is something I vividly remember as I played through God of War 1, so this type of thing is very important. So putting aside how impractical and difficult it is to learn the very mechanics of the Werehog, knowing all of this is made entirely useless due to the awful enemy design in the game. Sure, it has a decent number of enemies, but I would argue that not a single enemy makes me change my strategy. Even the bosses don't encourage me to try something new. Ideally, the player learns a lot about what the game has to offer through good enemy design that encourages them to play a certain way or just try a new strategy. In Dante's Inferno, for example, if a section is getting difficult or if I'm dealing with some kind of new annoying enemies, there are so many things that I can try. I could swap out relics with ones that are more damage or defense focused. I could try using more or less magic. If neither of those work, it'll sometimes force me to find new techniques. Take this one room near the start of the game. It was giving me a lot of trouble, and because of that, I found that I can do this crazy juggle in the air. Just launch, grab, they'll bounce off the ground, and then grab again. Heck, I can even throw a heavy attack in there because it has the same effect and bounces the enemy. The pressure of even a simple enemy room forced me to innovate to complete it. With that said, I can't think of a singular time the Werehog made me try something new, forced me to learn about a new combo, or encouraged me to try to anything. I believe this is due mainly to the lack of enemy challenge or variety, but it's also due to the very mechanics of the Werehog being extremely rigid. It doesn't lend itself to experimentation, so in the end we have combat mechanics that, while look cool, have almost zero unique properties, and enemies that don't challenge or incentivize the player to innovate at all. And one large place where the player can typically innovate the most is how to respond to attacks. That can be in the form of a block mechanic, a parry, a dodge, or some form of those together. The Werehog system for this, like the rest of its mechanics, is very clunky. The Werehog can block enemies using a shield, and while holding it you can dodge. The shield comes in segments, and based on the damage the enemy does, he'll take more or less of your shield. It also allows you to cancel attacks. Now this system does function, but it could have been so much better. First of all, the shield being a kind of meter is honestly kind of dumb, because then it relies on upgrades to even be able to block certain enemies, making what should be a skill-based mechanic just a lame stat. Plus, it's pretty unclear how much of your meter the enemy is going to take, which is really bad for a defensive move. It needs to be very clear to the player what their options are, so making the player always have to question whether or not they should even use the shield makes it very easy for the player to not even use it. Since there's no timing element, any good indication of the damage each enemy attack does to your shield, or it not being useful at lower levels, makes this feature a thing most people will skip. It's even more of a shame that the dodge is locked behind this thing too. Not that it's a great dodge or anything, it's pretty bad to be honest. Like almost everything I've talked about in this video, if they had just made it like a God of War, most issues here would have been fixed. In the God of War games, you have a block that eventually becomes a parry midway through God of War 2, and a dodge roll on the right thumbstick. The block is able to endure almost any attack from small to medium enemies, and the roll does in whatever direction you flick the right thumbstick. Keeping these mechanics separate is so much better than overlapping them in this type of game. It lets things stay snappy and keeps the player feeling more in control of things. This is just another thing that makes the Werehog feel so clunky. And really, the Werehog's combat as a whole misses that flow that makes hack and slash games so fun. It feels more like a memorization challenge than a combat intuition challenge. It's to the point where I feel like I'm just selecting a combo preset, letting it play, waiting a second, then repeating. The player and the Werehog have such a huge disconnect that makes it really hard to feel like you're doing any of this. What's crazy is that there's a place for these types of big moves. Just make them specials. In the God of War games, specials are just one button press and usually are a spectacle, but they don't break the flow of combat and almost give you a little break to prepare for your next attack. That's what creates that flow that God of War perfected. It's not too fast nor too slow. Without that flow, it just feels like it constantly stops and starts. The Werehog obviously falling into this. With God of War, sure, you can tell when a combo starts and stops, but it never feels like there's that downtime between combos that the Werehog unfortunately has. Based on everything I've laid out, it shouldn't be a surprise that the average player just ends up mashing random buttons, because why would they not? The game in no way gives them a reason not to. I can assure you that's what I did when I first played it, and honestly, outside of a few enemy rooms, it was almost impossible to find challenge in the game. Even when I did, it ended up feeling more like BS than anything, like this Titan enemy on top of this building in Skyscraper's Camper Knight. The challenge here is that if his Stomp's shockwave hits you, you'll get knocked off the building. Sounds fine enough, but if you get stunned by any of his attacks, then try to get up while a shockwave passes by you, you are virtually guaranteed death. But for some reason, if you press nothing, it doesn't hurt you. I mean, once you know that, it's easy to counter the shockwave, but how on earth would anyone naturally assume that's how this is gonna work? There are also so many annoying enemies, like the stupid bees. These guys are just a real pain, and there's no real trick to beating them. Your best chance is gonna be trying to throw objects at them, but if there are other enemies around, then good luck with that. That also ties into the awful balancing of the game. I've already discussed that on the side of the enemy some, but the player stats are even worse. If you've been, like most any player, using all your EXP at the end of every stage to upgrade, once you get to a certain point in the game, everything becomes mind-numbingly easy. It blows my mind that a common argument to respond to this is just, don't upgrade then, when that is the naturally intuitive thing to do. This kind of argument is shockingly common in Sonic discourse. So many issues get passed off somehow because there is a possible way around it. While it may be possible to amend this issue retroactively, if the correct way to play the game goes against what the player wants and what the game encourages them to do, then it's simply an inexcusable issue against the game. The final thing I want to talk about here is level design. So throughout the video, it's been pretty clear for my dislike of almost everything about the Werehog, but the level design, for the most part, is top tier stuff. I would legitimately enjoy the Werehog if it was just platforming. Unfortunately, it's just held back by everything I've been discussing. Seriously though, segments like Rooftop Run's Clock Tower, Skyscraper Scamper's Tower Climbs, and a few sections of Eggman Land are all really well designed. The Werehog's grab mechanic is super fun to use. With that said, I do think the movement can sometimes be a little clunky, but in general, it's still super good. If they just polished up the movement some and made it just platforming, I would seriously love the Werehog. So, I guess to conclude, I think the Werehog is an interesting concept that I would have loved to see done better. It's the kind of thing that no matter how hard I try to find new appreciation for, I just end up finding more things to not like about it. Seriously, as I was writing for this video, I just kept finding more and more problems that I have with the Werehog. I can't seem to find more to love, I can only find more problems. In this video, I ended up including a lot more things than I was originally going to. So yeah, saying all that, I do hope all of you have an amazing rest of your day. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. It might be a good comment section, I don't know, it's unleashed. That's a gamble, man. That said, I hope all of you have an amazing rest of your day. God bless.